Let's get ready to rumble.
Yes, we're back again. Season 3 of the Hibs Ramble, episode 93. Oh, boys, it is good to be back. I'm joined by Ryan and Shaun this evening. It's your host, Liam. Craig and Mark couldn't be arsed. They're too busy out gallivanting in the sun, drinking pints of beer and stuff like that. But we are back. We're dedicated to bring you the ramble again for the third season. Lads, how on earth are we?
I am fantastic. Thank you very much. Glad to be back. Long
It's
overdue.
good to see your very handsome face again, Shaun.
Yeah, you seen it recently, but
I did see it recently,
we're
yeah.
here now.
Yeah. Ryan, how about you? How was your break? How was your time off?
I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. 6 months in Berlin for tax evasion was a bit of a bugger, like it. I'm back here now. Well, the only reason I'm not out in the sun is because I'm still on a tag, but there we go. I'm just kidding. I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. Aye.
Well, if you're on a tag, it means that you can stay inside and record podcasts all the time.
Nothing else to do here, is there?
Win-win, mate. Win-win.
Up in the hills.
So yeah, aye, Shaun, what did you get up to over the summer? Over your break?
Nothing of great importance. Nothing that will interest anyone that's listening or watching.
You didn't go away anywhere with that, no?
No, I don't go away during the school holidays. That costs a fortune. Why would I waste my time then? I'm going away in a couple of weeks though. Can't wait. So
Yeah,
just,
retweet, so man.
busy continuing my modelling career. But yeah, apart from that, nothing much.
Yeah, for those watching on YouTube, you might have noticed that Shaun is wearing the latest Leith 7 merch gear, whatever you want to call it. Leith 793, as Shaun is so beautifully modelling it. The tracky jacket that we've got, it is in stock still, and we're taking orders until Friday. So if you want to get your hands on one, jump over to thehibsramble.com and you can pick one up. We've got junior sizes and adult sizes. So get one for your Wayne and get one for yourself. Simple as. Put them away for Christmas. I don't care. Just go and buy one, please. I need to feed my kids. So moving on. Let's talk about the football, shall we? Before we go on to Hibs, the Euros. Me and Ryan were talking about it off camera. Bit of a disappointing tournament after a half-decent first few games. Shaun, I know you tried to watch as much of it as you could. What did you think of it?
I think the tournament started off quite well. Like the first couple of round of group games, I feel like were quite good. But yeah, I feel like the tournament as a whole tailed off the longer England were in it. It was no coincidence that it just got worse the longer that they were in it, because the quality of the football just wasn't great at all. I actually feel like smaller nations being able to qualify for these types of tournaments are actually enhancing it, because in recent tournaments it seems to be the lower nations that are always providing the better quality football or the better quality matches. It's all these big nations that are providing the duds. Needless to say, that did not stop me enjoying myself when I was over there, because that was absolutely tremendous. One of the best times I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, it looked brilliant, and that's why I was actually asking you, have you been away anywhere? And then you shut it down immediately by saying no, but I wanted you to talk about the Euros. So cheers for that, Shaun. You've ruined my day. Ryan, it was a bit of a drab tournament as it went on. It was good that England never won it, but two, the amount of fucking long-range screamers that we saw in that tournament, that's surely got to be up there for one of the best tournaments for standard of goals.
Goal of the tournament would have been a tough one, eh? The goal who got goal of the tournament was an absolute beauty as well, wasn't it? But yeah, I think a lot of the games are really, really negative football in the way that you would have one team kind of low blocking and the other team just keeping possession. Very boring to watch. And I would absolutely agree with Shaun's sentiment in that some of the smaller nations or lower ranked nations provided the better entertainment. I mean, Austria were a bit of a surprise package. Quite enjoyed them. And we were speaking that Turkey and Georgia was one of the best games of the tournament. So you would expect it to usually be your Italy's, France, Spain, whatever. But the lower ranked nations kind of went for it as opposed to playing total football or possession based football. So it was good to see some of the teams that wouldn't usually qualify for these kind of tournaments playing. And obviously the national anthem right at the start of the first game, Scotland blew it out the water, which was a great moment of pride for everybody, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
For those that didn't hear anything that Ryan just said, because it sounds like he's underwater, he just basically agreed with everything I said and that Scotland were robbed and we should have won the whole tournament.
Did you not
Aye,
hear
Ryan,
that,
go and
Sean?
take your earpods out and use your actual iPhone microphone. Oh, much better.
Thank fuck.
What's the problem with the AirPods, man? That's weird. Right.
Oh, it just sounded like you were talking into a tin of soup.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Alright.
Did you get them from China or something?
I got them off that Timu. Is that what it's called?
Did you actually?
No, did I fart? Come on, you. Cheeky fucker. Right, wait till I turn this up then. Okay,
Fuck's
right.
sake. Right, on to the proper football. Hibs are back. League Cup group stages. We've all missed them. We've not had them last year anyway because we were in Europe, which is boring anyway. It's shite being in Europe because fucking you just play against teams that you didn't ken and that. So at least we've been able to play against Elgin and Kelty and Queen's Park, Peterhead on Saturday. So at least it's teams that you know. But no, first 3 games done and out the way. 2 wins and a defeat. I mean, 2 very, very convincing wins, Sean. And maybe a bit of a flop against Kelty. But what's your take on the first 3 competitive games of the season?
I've not overly read into much of it, if I'm being honest. I've obviously watched the games and saw them and stuff like that as well. It certainly looked like in the first 2 we looked like we were able to kind of play football a little bit more. It looked like David Gray kind of got the shackles off some of the players, Dylan Vente in particular in the first game. But again, you've got to take into consideration the types of sides that we're up against. However, that being said, the Premiership sides that until maybe this season, the Premiership sides in the League Cup don't necessarily fare too well. So you got to kind of give David Gray's props for playing a strong side in every match, or apart from arguably the Kelty game, but a strong team getting the game won and more importantly getting a good performance as well. In typical true Hibs fan fashion, we've obviously threw our toys at the pram and shit the bed with the result of the weekend, but I'm not overly arsed about it, to be honest. I think I would rather that type. It wasn't. Do you know what? It wasn't even the performance that was the issue, because I feel like we did create a lot. It was just one of those days where everything we touched just was not going in the back of the net. But we've been saying for a long time that this quality of the squad isn't good enough. So I think that type of result will help David Gray in regards to figure out who he needs to keep, which I think he would have known before. But I think this will enhance it even further.
100%. Ryan, you and I were talking off air about that game at the weekend and how there's maybe been a wee bit of an overreaction, you could say, from the support. I think it's fair to be, frustrated and probably a bit angry and dejected at the fact that we got beat 1-0 away to Kelty Hearts. But there was a lot of changes in the team that pumped Queen's Park at home, and I said to you that we're playing players that we probably aren't going to be relying on for the vast majority of the season, fitness dependent. So I don't think it's as big a deal as some are making out. But I can completely understand where people are coming from by being frustrated with it. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's natural to be frustrated after any defeat, especially one to kind of lower league opposition. But I think the first 2 games shows that David Gray took a real professional approach to the League Cup, put his strongest team out, kind of qualified with the first 2 games, winning the first 2 games, and thought, right, I'll change it up a bit. And I think he's probably been shown, or it's been uncovered, that the guys that have come in to replace the first team or your first 11 aren't good enough. It's probably more a reflection on them than what it is the manager, to be honest, because no matter who you put out on the pitch at Hibs, should be good enough to beat a team like Kelly Hearts. But it's disappointing. But our League Cup campaign doesn't hinge on that result, neither does our season. It doesn't define anything. So I think the overreaction is exactly that, an overreaction. We just need to kind of put it in the past and get on with what's in front of us, and we've got bigger and better things to come over the course of the season, so I don't think we'll need to worry about that result for too long.
Absolutely. And we're kind of going a wee bit backwards here, but the first couple of games were very good, Shaun, in terms of results and performance as well. It's good to see. I think the standout of the two games is probably, well, for me, the Queen's Park game. And the standout there was Rudy Molotnikov. A really impressive performance from him at home. Seemed to be running the show. You just kind of hope that he gets the minutes throughout the season that that he's probably earned in this early part of the season.
Yeah, he's definitely been a real key player in the first couple of games. Sorry, I'm just currently looking at the fact that Hibs have teased the fact that we're going to have a green and purple striped strip tomorrow 9 a.m. It'll be released. So it'll be released by the time this comes out. So I'm absolutely throbbing at the thought of it. But back to Rudy Molotnikov, yeah, he's definitely been a highlight so far. I don't think it will, but I don't want that to cloud David Gray's vision in regards to the fact that we still need to bring a player in that type of position with that type of mould. I think for me the most telling thing is the players that haven't been getting a look in, the players that we knew that weren't already good enough, but under new management sometimes they get another look in. I mean, like Riley Harbottle, Noah Kenna, players like that. I know they've been on the bench apart from the last game there, but even when David Gray rotated the squad against Kelly, they were still nowhere to be seen. So that for me is more important than a player like Rudy getting minutes. But yeah, to get back to your actual point, he's took his opportunity very well. I think he's benefited from the fact that Eddie May's there, David Gray's there. They know what he's capable of, and I think a lot of the players will, or the club as a whole, will benefit from the fact that those two people in particular are in charge of the squad at the minute, because they, one, know what's already there, and they, two, know what's coming through. So they know what's acceptable at this club. They know the quality that we need. David Gray's been there when we've been successful, but he's also been there when we've not been so successful. So yeah, if there's anyone that I trust at the minute, it's David Gray. So I'm happy that he's given players like Rudy some minutes.
And that was something that we actually spoke about when David Gray got the job, wasn't it? That he's not going to have to go through this setting in period of getting to know the players and knowing who's good enough and knowing who needs to go. He's clearly making the decisions right off the bat. Jojo Wallacott leaving, Ewan Henderson leaving. There's probably a couple others that will probably leave before the window shuts. He has been a little bit kind of, I don't want to say shy, but maybe a little bit kind of cautious in the players that he's bringing in. O'Hora, Ekpiteta, Burisic and Smith are the ins so far. Shaun or Ryan, correct me if I've missed anyone out. And the ones that have gone out permanently are Henderson and Wallacott. I don't know if I've missed anyone there, but on the face of it, it looks like a half decent bit of business so far. Still, for me, a bit to be done. I think, like you mentioned earlier, Shaun, we maybe need to add a little bit more quality and depth, so that in these games where we do need to rotate the squad and we do need to play players that aren't guaranteed 90 minutes every week, then we need to make sure that they are good enough. So I don't know what you think, Ryan, about the transfer business so far, but
yeah, I mean, I think it's difficult to operate even at our level when there's an international tournament on, because agents will be all over the place, managers, etc., etc. So I would expect now that that's done for more business to start happening. But I've just kind of roughly thought of 5 outgoings there off the tail end of last season. So although Mayenda rarely played, he was still part of the squad. The other 2 loanees, Marcondes and Mayolida, and then Stevenson and Hanlon. That's quite a big bulk of the squad, or the nucleus of what was playing towards the tail end of the season, bar maybe Stevenson. and we're going to miss goals and creativity with the two forward-thinking players there. And we say every season we need to clear the decks, but we've only seen two outgoing, for a fee. I think Wallacott, we've surely got a fee for him. We're really needing to recoup some money because we've obviously spent on some of these guys. McCurdy, we spent on him. If he's going to go, we need to get something back. We can't afford to just keep loaning players out whilst paying their wage. I think that's just not sustainable, regardless of how much money Bill Foley is or isn't going to pump into the club. Although, in terms of incomings, we've always kind of had quantity, but maybe not so much in quality. So if we're going to be bringing guys in that are going to be relied upon throughout the season to play, I think quality over quantity is quite an important thing, and then you can fill the rest out with the young guys like Rudy Molotnikov. In my opinion, that's the way to go, rather than just have loads of players on the fringes, which is what we're stuck with at the minute.
Of course, and Sean, do you think that the fact that we're maybe taking our time a wee bit over signings is maybe telling that we're holding out for that quality rather than just pulling the trigger and getting the first players that are offered to us or that are available?
I think in a way, yeah. I said to Craig the other day in the chat that because he was very frustrated that other clubs are maybe ahead of us in regards to recruitment, and they most certainly are, but I think a lot of the other clubs have been a little bit more settled in their position, and whereas we're in a position where there's quite a bit of upheaval and we need to get a lot of bodies out. So I think at the moment the club are trying to find that balance where, as Ryan alluded to, we've taken a hit on some players that clearly have not worked out, and one, we need to try and recoup some level of a figure for them, and two, we need to try and get them off the books as early as we can. So trying to find that balance is quite tough, especially with the number of players that we need to get rid of or needed to get rid of. We're not going to get rid of them all because we still need a squad at the end of the day, because if shit hits the fan, we're going to need boys to rely on regardless of their quality. But I think at the moment we're in a position where we're trying to get rid of players and we're maybe struggling to get rid of them or get deals over the line. I have absolutely no doubt that we have players of a certain level of quality lined up, but we just can't pull the trigger on them yet because at the moment we have such a big squad that it's a case of we're maybe needing to get 2 or 3 out to then bring one in. So I think it'll happen over time. I was hoping that we by the end of the weekend we'd maybe have 1 or 2 in, and by the St Mirren game maybe have a third in by then as well. So I think we'll see how it unfolds, but like Ryan alluded to, we have to get boys off the books first, and I think it'll happen. I think it'll come in time.
I mean, we hope so. We've seen we've seen us missing out, not missing out, but we've seen us being linked with players. Corey and Daba's been one of them, who obviously was on loan at Kilmarnock last season, looks to be heading back to Kilmarnock, as one that we've been rumoured to be linked with. Simon Murray as well, another one that we were, I think the interest in Simon Murray was probably pretty concrete, and it's one that we've lost out to Dundee. I don't know if lost out is the right word there, but what's that?
I'm glad we didn't pull the trigger on that one.
I think I probably would have been pretty happy with Simon Murray coming in as, probably a backup striker, but at the stage of his career, the season that he had last season, if I was Simon Murray and I had the choice to either go back to Hibs and be a backup to Dylan Vente, or go to Dundee, the team that I support, and be the main man, I think
it's a no-brainer.
10 times out of 10 you go to Dundee. I don't think it's any competition
I'm not
at all.
saying I wouldn't have taken him, because I certainly would have, but I think it comes down to the point that you just made there about him staying at home. He's got a young family, the team he supports. He's got to take all these kind of things into consideration.
And also the fact that we would have needed to pay a fee for him.
Yeah. And
so
you don't know.
I think that the only reason that we should have been taking him on was if he was coming as a free agent, which obviously he wasn't.
The way that David Gray might be looking to set up might have played a part as well. If maybe we were going to be set on like a 3-5-2 with 2 strikers, then we maybe would have, not pushed the boat out, but we maybe would have pulled the trigger on it. But I think at the moment David Gray is trying to find a balance between maybe a 3-4-3, a 3-5-2 and a 4-2-3-1, whatever we want to class it. I think he's going to be very fluid in his approach going forward, and he's going to want quality. And I think Simon Murray certainly would have been that quality. But if you take into the consideration the factors that you just said and the ones that we've just mentioned, I think it makes sense for him to make that move. And I think he's 32 now. I think it's a move that makes sense. Maybe we would have only offered him a year contract or a 2-year deal, where he's been given a 3-year deal at Dundee as well. So it's a little bit more security for him, and he's going to play week in, week out there. So, and no doubt he'll do well.
Of course, I think, yeah, like you said, Simon Murray will run himself into the ground for you wherever he plays, and it would have been nice to have that option there. I think that a hard worker like Simon Murray, like you said, Sean, is going to really thrive in this David Gray team. But Ryan, were you disappointed that we didn't pull the trigger on Murray?
Do you know, I just think it would have been interesting and probably quite good for us to have a bit of variety in our playing squad. He's a different player to Venti. It would have offered something different throughout various times of the season. Because I kind of picked on what David Gray had been saying in his initial interview about not having a philosophy and not being rigid or stuck on one thing. So I think probably the key thing to him building a squad is to have loads of different options and a bit of variety and players that can do different things at different times. So I thought signing him would have been ideal as an alternative to Venti as an out-and-out striker. I know you could say there's maybe McCurdy there, but I don't think he's a striker. I don't think he's up to it personally. So bringing in Murray would have been something totally different. We could have relied upon throughout the season to give us 10 league goals, maybe more. Who knows? So yeah, it was a shame that it never worked out, but it makes sense for him. Totally makes sense for him.
I was on mute there. I had to cough, and my laptop is very slow. So sorry if there's been a wee bit of delay. But no, let's talk about something still transfer related, but a wee bit more exciting. Let's talk about potential ins. I asked you earlier on if you could maybe come up with a couple of names that you would like to see us linked with. It's quite a boring thing being a Hibs fan during a transfer window, because I feel like Hibs always keep things, and I think it's like that's kind of like that for every team these days. The teams keep things very, very close to their chest, and there doesn't seem to be an awful lot of rumours flying about for anyone apart from teams that Fabrizio Romano likes. So it's obviously not us. Is there any names? We'll go for positions first. So Sean, is there any positions that you feel we 100% need to strengthen or just bring bodies in before the window shuts or before the St Mirren game?
Well, I'm glad you didn't come to me for names, because very rarely in the history of podcasting have people got any predictions right with transfers that they want.
I know, but it's fun. It's fun.
As for positions, I know it's kind of been confirmed that we are looking towards the attacking side of the pitch now, and looking for attacking players with attacking threat, and potentially like a number 10. And I completely agree, those are the types of individuals that we should be looking for. However, I do still also feel that we potentially still need to bring in another centre half. Not that I'm not happy with the two that we've got, it's more about I'm not happy with what that leaves us with. I don't
Could
think
be a
it'll
Bournemouth
be
loan job, really.
Unless, yeah, potentially. And we might get that young lad, was it Bevan, maybe?
Bevan.
I think he's injured.
Yeah.
I think he's injured again.
But yeah, you're right. It might be somebody like that, and that might be why we're not pulling the trigger on another loan deal at the minute. And that makes perfect. Another centre half at the minute. Sorry, and that makes perfect sense. But I would like to see another centre half of some kind. But I would also want Riley Harbottle gone as well. We've hinted at a left back, so that would be ideal. Megwa played there the other day, and as much as I love Megwa, co-founder of the Megwa Supporters Club.
I don't think he's a left back. I don't think left back is his strongest area.
No, not at all. Maybe he could be back up for centre half, but for me, yeah, number 10 and another striker / winger or two.
I'm going to press you for names, Sean.
Sean Corrigan, Ryan Melville, and Craig Lee.
So you pick Craig Leach, who plays in the Fat League for Flaberdeen, over me.
Plays more football than you.
True, he does. He does. He talks more shite than me, you know.
Heard he's good at handling balls, so
Oh, he's very good at that. I've got first-hand experience. But seriously, please give me some names, Sean, because I just want something to go off, even if we can make up a rumour.
the thing is, Craig said the other day that he hopes that we go balls deep for Luke McCowan and Danny Armstrong, where I think the two names that he put in, and I wouldn't be opposed to either of them. My only concern was, or still is, the amount of money that their club might actually want for it. I don't know how long they've got left on their contract. I think they would be great additions to a David Gray Hibs side, and they would definitely fill a gap for what we need at the minute. It's still yet to be seen how David Gray's sides are going to line up, but like I said earlier, it's going to be very fluid based on what I've seen so far. So, listen, if you're wanting two names, there's a couple of names for you. I wouldn't be opposed to them, but I don't think either of them are realistic because I think their current club will ask for too high a fee.
I think, see, when you said Armstrong there, I was thinking, oh, we need a number 10. Why don't we go for Stuart Armstrong? But I've seen that he is on trial at Brentford, so there's absolutely no way that we would be able to afford his wages in a month of Sundays. Ryan, are you sort of in agreement with the positions that we need to strengthen, or do you think that there's other areas of the park that we need to bring in bodies as well?
No, I'm absolutely in agreement. I think if you're working off the premise that most managers do in having two players or two players that can cover every position, we're still short in quite a few positions. Centre half obviously being one that really stands out for me. We don't have a second left back. I know Megwa played there, but he's not naturally left footed. And then again in the forward thinking areas, we're very short. As I alluded to earlier, the loan players that we had in those positions have all went back to their clubs. So yeah, I think it's almost a point of urgency that we need to strengthen in those areas going into the league campaign. But in saying that, only having kind of three senior recognised centre halves kind of worries me in case one of them gets injured, and then we're not really left with much. So I will throw a name out there. Redmond, who is the captain of St Pat's Athletic in the League of Ireland, very, very good player. Sean Smiling, you must have heard of him. Very good player, comfortable on the ball, bit of a warrior mentality. He's kind of similar in regards to O'Hara, which is something that I like in a centre half. He's a battler, and I think people have seen a couple of his qualities come out already, which is good. I think he'll be a key player for us this season. So Redmond's very similar to him. So if you want to start that rumour, maybe it'll happen by 2026.
Fingers crossed. He'll maybe need to make a move to Brighton and MK Dons before he comes up the road. But no,
I do
it's nice.
in a couple of areas still. I mean, you look at right back, we've got two players there, that's fine. And then as you start to look across, you've got two goalkeepers, fair enough, three centre halves, 1.5 left backs. You've got plenty of people that play centre midfield, and then again you've got Boyle, and you've got Venti. Like who else have you got?
I think we need wide forwards as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's something that, I mean, obviously we've got McCurdy. It's kind of jury's out whether to see he'll be here come the end of the window or not. But I think he played all right on Saturday. I mean, he didn't really do an awful lot wrong. I still think that he probably feels like he's got a lot to prove at Hibs as well. So, we might be kind of giving him another chance, which I would love because I'm just desperate to see his celebration. That's all I want. Just one goal, Harry McCurdy. He never did it when he scored the belter against Edinburgh City. Oh, that would have been a bit of a redneck if he'd have done that. To be fair, if he'd have celebrated in a friendly against Edinburgh City. No, with all due respect to Edinburgh City, but no. Wide forwards is what we need, I think, and a central forward as well that will be able to kind of either partner up with Venti or kind of rotate with Venti as and when we play two or three up front.
What I would say, Liam, is if we are to try and go for anybody within the league, it's going to be really hard price-wise to try and get a player that's value for money from clubs around about us. Like if we go for Armstrong for Kilmarnock, there's going to be a tax on that because we're in the same league. We're probably going to be competing for the same European place. There's going to be a bit of an inflated fee. So I don't know if it's a market that will go shopping.
And to be honest, see if you're a player that's playing in, in one of these teams, obviously Kilmarnock and St Mirren got European football this year,
Yeah.
and Dundee finished in a strong place, and we didn't. So if you're playing for one of those teams, and you hear that Hibs are interested in you, yeah, historically Hibs are a very, very big club, but we've not really shown it the last few years. And if you're playing at a club that's kind of making those strides, I think especially Kilmarnock at the moment, making those strides and doing half decent, then are you really going to want to leave what you're building there to come and maybe struggle at Hibs? I'm not saying that we're going to struggle this season, but in the last few seasons we've not been great in terms of player turnaround and manager turnaround. It's all been very high, so it's not ideal, I think, for a player who's kind of in this environment and watching us as much as these players will do. I think probably our best bet is to go from down south or abroad. Shaun, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. My only concern, obviously, at the minute is just the reoccurring failures that we have with the current recruitment setup and things like that. I say current, prior to this season. Obviously, we've signed 3 first-team starters, and they all look of a decent quality. So more of the same would be great. It's a good start. It's a good base. We spoke at the end of last season that's the area of the pitch that we needed to improve on, was the spine of the team. And if you can have a good spine of the team, then you'll be okay. The reason why I'm so adamant that I want a playmaker or a number 10 or a flair player is because I feel like at the minute, the middle of the park, we've got so many players that are similar or do similar roles. Obviously, Joe Newell, Mariah Welsh, Amos, and then you've got Campbell, who can do maybe a little bit different than them, and then you've obviously got Rudy as well. So anyone else in those positions that we still have at the club, I don't really feel warrants their place. So hopefully a couple more starters. Too many windows in the past have gone by where we've brought in shirt fillers and squad fillers, and I'm sick of it.
Well, I think I'd like to see 2 starters come in, a wide attacker and an attacking midfielder. Doesn't necessarily need to be a pigeonholed number 10, but just someone who can play in a more advanced role. And then I think as well we need to bring in a left back, a centre half, and probably another striker too. I'd be happy with that before the end of the window. And then obviously a couple outgoings as well. Like you said, Riley Harbottle probably on his way out.
I know
maybe
McCurdy starts in
we
a
don't
couple
know.
of weeks or whatever, but we've still got 4 or 5 weeks of the window left, and a lot of deals will get done at the end. That's where we'll know where our squad is permanent wise, and then we can maybe dip into the loan market. The loan market, you could arguably say, was successful for us in January to an extent. So if we can, and I know those types of players came in because of Monty, but if we can get a high quality couple of loans just to fill a gap for a year, very similar to what we've done in the goalkeeping position, which that's exactly what I think it is to fill a gap until Murray Johnson's ready to go. If we can do something similar in other positions, I don't see why not, as long as it's of the right quality. I just want to make sure that any player that does come in positively impacts the starting 11 rather than, is a squad player and can maybe impact coming off the bench.
Now it's the first listener questions of the season.
Now it's time to answer the Hibs Ramble listener questions.
First, as always, lads, it's John McIntosh, and he asks, what is for dinner? But most importantly, the first ramble of the season, it needs to be a good dinner, boys, so please don't let me down. Shaun, you've just finished your tea before you came on. What did you have?
I had it was like a sausage and so it was sausage, chips, and broccoli basically. But it was like,
fucking shite.
No, it was absolutely tremendous. It was homemade chips, so like obviously chopped up the tatties, and then there was like some American seasoning over it. Brilliant, really nice. Chucked the tender stem broccoli in the oven as well, nice and crispy, nice and juicy. Barbecue sauce over the over the, I think it was honey mustard sausages, actually. Barbecue sauce over them and then some gravy over the chips. It was delish.
Barbecue sauce and gravy in the same plate.
Different. It was really good. Really good.
I think we're going to need to put a poll out. Is that okay? Barbecue sauce and gravy in the same plate. If that
You're a
is
psychopath,
acceptable,
man.
let us know. I think that's a wee bit serial killer behaviour, to be honest.
Man, that's
About
like
me.
Jeffrey Dahmer dinner, like.
I enjoyed
Jeffrey
it.
dinner.
That's all that matters.
Right, what did you have?
Oh, I've not had mine yet. It's getting cooked right now, so I'm having pulled pork barbecue burgers.
Oh,
With some halloumi on it, spring onions, and what else? Fries and vegetables. So, like carrots, roast parsnips, a wee bit of everything.
oh, I love a roast parsnip, me.
Yeah, roast
Wee
parsnips
bit,
are
wee
like.
bit of honey over the top
Mhm.
before you pop them in the oven. Oof.
But I do like my old pulled pork, like, it's lovely.
Yeah, we have pulled pork quite often, you know.
The only
do
thing
like
I don't like about it is the fucking length of time it takes to cook. It's like 45-minute dinner, baby.
Uh,
But it's lovely.
right.
It's lovely. On a wee brioche bun.
Oh, I love a brioche bun. And that's a lovely segue into what I'm having for my dinner.
What are you having?
I prepped. I've not cooked them yet. They're still in the fridge. But I've prepped chicken burgers to have. What the fuck are you showing us now, Sean?
That's his sausages, man. He's showing us the sausage. Nice
He is
sausage.
showing us. He is showing us his sausage for the audio-only listeners. He is just whapped out his sausage and showed us it.
He's jizzed the sausage. He's jizzed the sausage.
He's shown us the sausage and all the sauce.
Wow.
That's disgusting, Sean. No, but no, I'm having chicken burgers.
Chicken burgers.
I mean, like Cajun chicken burgers. So I've fucking pounded all the chicken breast down with the meat mallet.
The meat
I think
mallet.
It's going to be all nice and juicy and tender. And I've got brioche buns, and I'm going to do some spicy sauce, some chips, lovely jubbly.
Is it like a buffalo sauce or what? If it's spicy.
Nah, I've got like this. I'm saying I've got like this sriracha. I've got sriracha sauce, and I just mix it with mayonnaise, so it's just like a wee spicy mayonnaise.
It's sriracha
It's
meal.
like- well, fucking didn't talk to me about sauce. If you're going to talk to anyone about sauce, fucking we need an intervention for Sean. Barbecue sauce and gravy, man. That's fucking
I know. A fucking Jeffrey Dahmer dinner.
That's fucking rank, mate. I'm not being funny,
Well,
but
it
it's rank.
wasn't mixed, to be fair, so.
No, but if it's in the same plate, it's going to mix.
Well, didn't they?
Nah.
We partitions up on the plate.
All I know is I had a fantastic dinner, so that's all that matters to me.
A wee Berlin Wall.
Sean's plate looked like the island of Ireland.
A hard border between the sausages and the broccoli. Oh man. Right, we'll move on because this is getting a wee bit out of hand. Gav Dick, I'm not going to slate you for your spelling or your grammar. New season, new me. Hopefully, new Craig. I don't know if he'll slam you for your pish grammar and your pish spelling. But no, he says he just wants the season to start now. Thoughts on the Yuan situation? Should we have just sold him for $2.5 million? He was certainly playing for himself against Queen's Park. Secondly, are the links about Nisbet coming back to us concrete? Are there any other names being bandied about? For me, I think we should keep a hold of Yuan as long as possible. I think he is easily the most technically gifted player on the team, on the roster. So we should IMO selfishly keep a hold of him. But if he wants to go and his head has been turned, then I don't think there's an awful lot that we can do to stop that from actually going through. And just before I get your take on the Nisbet situation, yes, I've heard the rumour that Nisbet is coming back up the road, but have you seen the size of him? He's went back to Millwall and he is overweight, by the way. He has got a pot belly on him. So, I don't know, Sean, but if Shanklin's anything to go by from last season, maybe we should take a punt on bringing him back up the road.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I think him and Venti would play well together. I don't think there'll be anything in it, if I'm honest. Quite interesting reading, or I don't know whether you read into it or not, the comments that Bill Foley made about being unhappy about some of the decisions that have been made at the club recently. I wonder if the Ellie Yuan decision to not sell him is maybe one of the reasons that he's hinting towards, because ultimately Lorient listened to the Black Knight Group and Foley, and they sold all their players when a fee came in and ended up getting relegated. So maybe it's not the worst thing that we're maybe not listening to them. There's a reason why they're not majority stakeholders and they're only, minority. Is that the right word to use?
I think so,
Stakeholders
yeah.
at this stage. So just because you have an investment in the club, that doesn't mean that gives you the right to have the final decision. However, the leadership group at Hibernian Football Club at the moment reeks, and they do need to make better decisions. And I think
Well,
keeping a hold
we
of
are
the
going to
UN
come on to the Black
is,
Knight stuff because we do have a question on it. So
yeah, and I think keeping a hold of Ellie Yuan is the right decision to make at the minute. He's a very, very technically gifted player, and listen, maybe we're trying to hold out for maybe a wee bit more. So that might just be it. And I think to touch on what I mentioned earlier on about players leaving for players to come in, maybe that is one of the players that could go, which could trigger us to bring in 2 or 3 players and use that money.
well, the thing is, apparently we've got the biggest budget that we've ever had, so surely that shouldn't really make much of a difference. But Ryan, a fat Kevin Nisbet or a fat Lawrence Shankland? Who are you taking?
Fucking no-brainer, bud. Fat Kevin Nisbet. He's always carried a wee bit, though, eh? He's always
Yeah,
carried
so
a wee bit.
Shankland, I suppose, eh?
I know, Shankland's got a 5 head, man. I didn't dig a 5 head, like.
Nah, Nisbet didn't score many headers, but
I'll take the player that scored 25 goals plus last season.
I'm just never taking a player that's ever pulled on maroon. Like, even if it's no, like, the Jambos, any colour maroon, I'm not having it. Like, if they played for Arbroath, I'm not signing them. You know what I'm saying?
what if
But listen, Nisbet, he's not got a great attitude, right? We've seen that. You try to force him to move a couple of times.
apparently that's what's getting him into a bit of bother at Millwall as well. I mean, I've not heard anything from like fucking any credible sources, but just like what you see on Twitter and stuff, like
I know. And I think
apparently
it's a well-known fact that he's always kind of had that little bit of a chip on his shoulder, but he is a good footballer, and he did score goals when he was here and when he was fit. He was unfortunate that he was out for so long with his ACL injury, but he is a player that would be of great value to us, even if it was only for a season.
yeah.
As for the LUN situation, it's inevitable that he will go at some point, but his value is never going to decrease. He's not of an age where he's going to fall off.
Yeah.
His ability is not going to wane over the next 12 months. He's only going to get better. I think his value is only going to increase. So for as long as we can hold on to him, it will always benefit us. Whether that's on
The thing is, with Ellie Yuan though, you don't really want to lose him in a January because then it's going to be. I mean, it's going to be difficult enough to replace him in the summer, but it's going to be even more difficult to replace him in a January.
I know. I don't think you can cut your nose off to spite your face, because I mean, if we can hold out and get more from him in January, I think that's a better sustainability plan for the club. As opposed to, right, if we can't replace him in January, let's just sell him now for a lesser fee. I think we should just hold on to him for as long as possible, irrespective of what window he goes in. But that's just my opinion. I know he'll be hard to replace at any time just because of the numbers he puts up for us.
I mean, I think that as well. I think from a selfish point of view, you know, at the end of the day, if he's with us and scoring goals and getting assists, then that's more important to me than money that we might or might not spend in this window. So
yeah,
that's kind of where I'm at. But we'll move on. We've got a trilogy of questions from Cal Laidlaw. His first one is, how lucky are we to have the quadrant of success, the golden quadrant of success running the club? Sean?
There's only 3 of us here.
Yeah, as I mentioned, the leadership group at Hibernian is a bit of a shambles, and it's not one that I'm on board with. I think to even post something like that or allow something to be posted like that is a bit ridiculous. I don't know how many days we can go without embarrassing ourselves, but it can't be that long.
I've seen just as you say that, I've seen a really funny post from down the slope earlier on, and it was the still from The Office, and it's like how many days without nonsense, and it was 0, and then they'd put Ian Gordon and Ben Kensel's face on it. I was pissing myself, and I thought it was hilarious.
as much as Ben Kensel continues to butter up the fact that off the park we're in such a great position, blah 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 and stuff like that, like, one, the books at the end of the financial year might say otherwise, or the end of the calendar year, whatever it's measured by from a football club's perspective, might actually end up saying otherwise because of how poor we've been in the last couple of years. And yes, we're more appealing off the park at the minute, but if you're not appealing on the park, your off the park stuff's going to take a hit as well.
And it doesn't really, like, at the end of the day, like, for the average punter, it probably doesn't really matter.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Especially for Craig, he fucking bumps his gums about it all the time, man. Ryan, I'll come to you with the next question that Cal's asked, and he asks, Johnson was under immediate pressure for making several changes against Falkirk in the group stages of the League Cup and getting beat. Should Gray get the same criticism?
Nah, just like I didn't think that Johnson should have been under pressure for it, to be honest with you. I know ultimately we went out that season, didn't we? But I don't think that was hinged on that one result. There was a number.
It was hinged on all the times that we got beat.
What's that, sorry?
Hinged on all the times that we got beat.
Yeah, well, we also made an administration error, which led to points being deducted, which was another serious fucking error. Do you know what I mean? But I don't think that Johnson should have been under pressure at that point. The whole purpose in having a squad is that they have the ability to play games when and if needed. And whether that be against lower league opposition, that probably says more about the recruitment of these players than it does the selection of them, if that makes sense. If they're not good enough to go in that park as a collective and beat Falkirk or beat Kelty Hearts, that surely says more about the players and the people that have brought them in to play for this club rather than the manager that selected them. Yeah. That's just where I'm at with it. When it's
I think you're absolutely right, to be honest. Like, the squad is there to be rotated. You know, in an ideal world, we've got two sets of a starting 11 that can come in and do a job when needed. So the fact that you're getting grief or pressure from using your squad and the players that you have at your disposal, I think is a bit much.
That's really right. Say we play our strongest 11 in those 3 games. One of our key players could get injured, or it's an early start when you're in the League Cup stages. We could face burnout at a vital point of the season when we're maybe chasing Europe or top 6, and then it's another criticism. Well, why did they play strongest 11 in those meaningless cup games?
Exactly,
do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, like, I don't think you can ever win in that situation. But there should definitely be 6 or 7 players that could come into a game against lower league opposition and carry out the task professionally.
Oh, 1,000,000%. I mean, I think there's enough quality in that team that started against Kelty Hearts, with all due respect to them, to beat Kelty Hearts 5 or 6 times over.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have lost that game with the personnel that we had on the park.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, I just don't think that it is as big a deal as being made out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, you don't want to lose any game.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Shite to get beat at any level.
Yeah,
but you know, at the end of the day, like you said, I'd be probably a little bit more concerned if
that's your first 11.
No, but if he's playing his first 11 consistently and he's not changing it throughout these.
I think also there's a little bit of what Shaun mentions about still trying to shift players out. You need to play these guys so that people can come and see them, come and watch them. You know, you hear the phrase, the shop window. Like, how can scouts come and watch a player that's sitting on the bench? So there's probably a little bit of that's went on Saturday. You know, there's guys that we're still trying to get rid of, to be honest with you. So it's understandable that some of these guys have come in out the cold to play.
Yeah, of course. And it looks like Shaun has dropped off, so I'll just finish up asking you the final question. And it's kind of an amalgamation of 3 different questions, but it's all about the Black Knights and all this stuff about all this stuff about Bill Foley and stuff. I mean, I've got my own opinions on it. I want to hear your opinions.
Well, ask the question, give your opinion, then I'll see what I can copy what you've said.
So it's all kind of about this Bill Foley speaking out about the club not listening. That I think is a separate topic. But Cal's also asked, do you think that we've misread what we were going to get this summer? It doesn't look like this big summer spend is is going to happen. It isn't looking likely at the moment. And then that's coupled up with the questions from Billy and Harvey that are asking about Bill Foley saying that the leadership team haven't been listening to what he's been saying. So I wonder if that is kind of going hand in hand. One, for me, Bill Foley kind of speaking out about that is a bit frustrating. I think it gives a lot of ammunition against us. I don't think it was something that needed to be in the public domain. That can be a behind closed doors conversation. Two, from that, like Shaun said earlier on, you're a minority or a smaller stakeholder, shareholder, whatever you want to call it. So should you be calling the shots on what happens on the day-to-day running of a football club? Whether the leadership team do the right things or the wrong things, at the end of the day, they are the ones who have, you know,
Final say,
the
call the
majority
shot.
of the control over the club. So at the end of the day, it's whatever they say that goes, rightly or wrongly. And I'm a bit frustrated that this has all kind of come out, and then I'm frustrated with Bill Foley. I'm frustrated with the leadership team. This is all just a bit of a big shambles at the moment.
Yep.
But on the flip side of that, I think a good signing would probably snap us all back into line. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I agree with the majority of what you're saying there. I think that these conversations should be kept totally in-house. Don't air your dirty linen. I think it's not great practice. It shows that there's probably already, and quite early on in the relationship, a bit of division within the relationship. It doesn't look good from people on the outside looking in. And I wonder if they're coming at an angle where they maybe want to pick and choose who we're signing, and that might be a reason as to why money hasn't been put in yet. I hope it's just not, we're putting money in on the condition that you sign X, Y, or Z, or, you know, because they seem to have an interest in putting players through the clubs and then eventually going into the Premier League. So I would just hope that if he was fully invested in giving us this money, that there was no strings attached to it. But in saying that, we haven't seen any of it put into action yet. So the proof will be in the pudding at the end of the day, at the end of the transfer window, whether he stuck to his word or not. But I suppose for the fan base as a whole, it is frustrating that we were all kind of psyched up and hoping for, you know, mass improvements in the squad, money to be spent, and, you know, it would unite and harmonise the fan base as well. As you say, one big signing, everybody's on board and excited, and everybody's there for the first game of the season, packed house. You know, it just brings the whole fan base together. I think that's what we need. Whether or not that's what's going to happen, I don't know. That remains to be seen.
100%, and I think that's a really nice spot to end on. That was a Shaun style rant, a Shaun style answer in the absence of Shaun. No, it's been great to be back. Great to chat to you, Ryan, and Shaun has obviously dropped off. If you've got this far, thank you so much. We'll be back weekly from now on, from now till the end of the season. We'll have another wee break again, but if you don't already, find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We are at the Hibs Ramble on all our social medias. And if you liked the tracky jacket that Shaun was wearing earlier on before he dropped off, you can get your own at thehibsramble.com. Orders are open until Friday. So if you are after one, make sure you act quickly and we can get that sorted out for you. But all that is left to be said now is thanks again for joining me, Ryan. Thanks to you all for listening, and we will catch you next week. Cheerio. Bye-bye.
Let's get ready to rumble.